Headlines is brought to you by the generous support of our viewers and the following community partners. Best Cord Cutting TV, Before It's Tax Preparation, Bravo's Restaurant Bar, Casa Samtonieta Ingielapa, El Rey Lounge de Versalles, John Boutique Hotel and Co-work, Monzon Brewing Company, Puerto Vallarta Neurofeedback, Owners Reps Puerto Vallarta, and Siam Cocina Thai. Thank you for your support, and thank you for supporting our community partners.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get-together live on YouTube and live on Facebook, where we take a look at news from Puerto Vallarta, our state, Jalisco, our country, Mexico. We take a look at your comments, your ideas, your suggestions, everything we can get our hands on to improve the quality of life here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English-speaking locals. I have to say that David's comment, which is the first one that appeared to me today from YouTube, made me chuckle. This is starting to become a habit, says David. Hello, David. I chuckled because, we've been going at it for over 5 years. So trust me, it is a habit. No, seriously, it is a pleasure to see you. I'm glad it's becoming a habit. That means you must be getting something good out of what we bring to the table here. And that's exactly what this is all about. Today, we have all kinds of news and some oddities. Today, the news were very local and very interesting. So I'm just going to jump into what I found. And I want your feedback on something that has to do with living in Los Cabos. We'll get to that in a second. Let me just put things together and get started with the news. This is good news. In August of 2025, last month, Puerto Vallarta's International Airport registered a 5.5% increase in commercial passenger arrivals, which is the highest recorded on that month among 12 Mexican airports in the Grupo Aeroportuario del Pacífico. This is the company that administers 12 Mexican airports when compared to the same month in 2024. So the short of it is that we have more passengers arriving this year in August, or we had, than in the previous year. Hopefully the numbers will continue to increase as we approach our fall season. And just as an FYI, SEAPAL continues modernizing its water network along Aquiles Serdán St in Colonia Emiliano Zapata, and traffic along sections of the street continues to be restricted. So do keep this in mind if you need to do any driving around Emiliano Zapata this week. And this is brand new to me. Tepic has announced a new highway which will be constructed from Las Varas-San Blass. The first phase of this new highway will cover the Las Varas to Platanitos section. According to the project, the construction period is estimated to be 4 years, with an investment of approximately 2.516 billion pesos. And construction is scheduled to begin in May of next year, although the initiative is currently already in the study phase. This project is part of the National Highway Infrastructure Program promoted by the government of Mexico and includes the construction, maintenance, rehabilitation, and operation of 26 new kilometers of highway. Good news for our neighbors north of Jalisco. And I suppose this is good news for our health. The government of President Claudia Sheinbaum intends to increase the special tax on production and services on soft drinks, cigarettes, and even video games with violent content as part of the 2026 economic package presented by the Ministry of Finance and Public Credit. The proposal indicates that the increase also includes non caloric sugary drinks, meaning it does not only apply to soft drinks. So if it's fuzzy or bubbly, it'll be more expensive next year. President Sheinbaum was questioned about this proposal, and as stated by the Secretary of Finance, she asserted that this is a measure that benefits the population. And I quote, all funds raised go directly to a health fund. It is not a decision about revenue collection, but rather has to do with the health of Mexicans, President Sheinbaum explained during yesterday's morning press conference. How is your soda pop consumption these days? As long as we're at it. Let me clear my throat. I used to be a Diet Coke junkie, self confessed, and I used to drink a lot of rum and cokes. I don't anymore. Nowadays, I probably will reward myself with a Diet Coke maybe once a week. Sometimes when I'm thirsty and I'm out with friends, I will ask for rum and coke. But here in the house, I don't drink that much soda pop anymore. How are you doing with your soda pop consumption? Feel free to share in the comments. And moving right along, I have this one. No, this one we already had. Oh, I didn't change my title. My bad. My bad. I didn't change my title. This is a different news item. This has to do with a regional delegate from the Federal Consumer Protection Bureau who was invited by the local chapter of the restaurant chamber, and based on questions received by those present, we have a handful of timely reminders as consumers. Let me read that again, or let me explain that again, because I didn't make much sense to myself. The local chapter of the Restaurant Chamber Association invited a delegate from the Federal Consumer Protection Bureau to address restaurant members here in Puerto Vallarta. And some of the questions that he answered are relevant to us as consumers. I'm going to mention three. Number one, restaurants claiming you must consume a certain minimum in order to enjoy the venue are acting outside the law. Number two, restaurants that add a surcharge to your bill when you pay with a card are acting outside the law. Number three, restaurants that add a suggested tip to the bill are acting outside the law. But perhaps the bigger question is, because we can think of, at least I can think of at least one restaurant for each one of those categories that has behaved badly. The question, and I'm looking at this from a strictly health angle, are we going to lose some positive energy denouncing restaurants? Or in a city like Puerto Vallarta, where there are so many options, are we simply going to go to a different place? Or can we combine both activities? Because, I mean, on the one hand, if a restaurant's behaving badly, they shouldn't be behaving badly. But on the other hand, I read online every now and then, or I get emails from friends or people that watch the broadcast that say, such and such restaurant behaved badly. What can I do about it? And more often than not, a part of me is inclined to simply say, take your business elsewhere. So, how do you feel about that? Do you just take your business elsewhere? Do you do the right thing? Or do you get yourself all worked up and stressed out about something that you don't even have control over, and thus ruin your day or your week? I don't know. You tell me how you feel about those kinds of things. Sometimes I wonder if we allow ourselves to get just too worked up about too many things. And speaking of getting worked up, this one I thought really fascinating. It may not apply to many of you, but if your boss here in Mexico is being abusive, can you record him and use that as evidence? In Mexico, conflicts between employees and superiors are not uncommon, and this is one of the most common situations. Whether an employee can record their boss in situations of verbal harassment or abuse. And the federal labor law states in its articles that employers must guarantee an environment of respect, safety, and dignity, which means that yelling, insults, or humiliation can be considered as acts of workplace violence. So, if an employee is present when the yelling or insults occur, in other words, if you're getting yelled at, you can do a recording and it can be considered as valid evidence. However, it can only be used for legal purposes, such as filing complaints or defending labor rights. So apparently, it's unlawful to publish it on TikTok, but why do I know? Now, recording other people's conversations in which the employee uh, does not participate, that is not allowed. Say, if your employer is talking badly about you and another colleague records that conversation, that is not allowed by Mexican law. So the bottom line is if your employer is being an asshole, you can record him or her. Or if you are an employer and you're being an asshole, well, maybe you shouldn't be an asshole. And this will prevent the situation from happening, right? I suppose. Let's take a look at at the weather forecast, just to see what's going on out there. Boom, boom, boom. My rain generator shit the bed again. Rain stopping in a few seconds, says our weatherman. It is 28 degrees out there, which is lovely. Humidity is high at 81%, and our weather forecast tells us that we can expect rain in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 61%, and a high of 32 and a low of 25. Then tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 62%, a high of 32 and a low of 24. Then Friday, rain in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 86%, a high of 32, and a low of 24. And there is more. There is more. And I'm going to start with this one because I'm really curious about how you feel about this. Because the headline caught my attention and it gave me some thoughts. Let me set this up. Los Cabos in Baja California Sur has more foreign homeowners than Mexican national homeowners. There are more Americans that own property in Los Cabos than Mexico. This is a silent but powerful wave that is redefining the face of Los Cabos, transforming this tourist destination into a real estate market inaccessible to the local population. This comes to us from a recent and shocking report by the real estate firm Reality One Group Baja in Pacific, Mexico. And they have highlighted the magnitude of the phenomenon, revealing that 60% of residential properties in Los Cabos already belong to foreign buyers, primarily from the United States. So, more foreigners than Mexicans own homes in Los Cabos. And this gets me thinking. On the one hand, I think Baja California is fascinating. It's desert, it's all the way over there. There's so much undiscovered land. There are many reasons why I would consider visiting and exploring and maybe even living somewhere in Baja California. But would I want to live in the one place that has more foreign homeowners than Mexican nationals? Maybe not. But maybe some of you might feel safe in such an environment. Would you come to live in Mexico, to live in a town that has more foreign investments than Mexican investments? Would that make you feel safe? Would that make you feel that you're in Mexico? How do you feel about this? No shame, no shame. I understand that we all have different priorities, but I know that for myself, sometimes even looking at Puerto Vallarta, I begin to wonder how Mexican is our city anymore. But that's just me. That is the one thing that I want to lead with, and we'll take it from there. I will look at your comments, and I have more stuff to share with you, including the fact that This is another supermarket, so Soriana in Flamingos, better known as La Mega, the former La Mega. They have begun charging, or they will begin charging for the use of its parking lot, for which purpose they have already installed payphones and digital machines at its three ground floor entrances on Francisco Medina Asensio. This means that for us locals, there are only two shopping centers left in the city with free access, those being Macro Plaza on Francisco Villa Avenue and Chedraui on Francisco Medina Asensio. So no more free parking at this supermarket. Food for thought. I also wanted to let you know that the Department of Environmental Sustainability is urging citizens and visitors to protect sea turtles during this nesting season in Puerto Vallarta. There are phone numbers on this article. Well, there's 911, which we should all remember, but there's another number. It's a 322 number that you can dial if you detect any risky situation, and trained personnel will provide immediate assistance. You can also join turtle releases taking place at La Playa del Joli. This is behind La Isla Shopping Mall, Monday through Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. This is open to the public. And of course, if you are interested in volunteering, this is also an option. And last but not least, I have been, and we've been talking about Mexican cheeses. I've talked about queso Oaxaca or string cheese as being one of my favorites. And I have consistently said that for myself, for me, when it comes to queso Oaxaca, I'd rather buy it at the mercado because I somehow trust the non-industrialized cheese process when it comes to Oaxaca more than the kind of stuff that you find on the supermarket. But Profeco, the Federal Consumer Bureau, Consumer Protection Bureau, has come forth and revealed three brands of supermarket Oaxaca cheese that they think are of the finest quality. And those brands are Lala, Esmeralda, and Nochebuena. So what I've decided I'm going to do, just because I love this stuff, I'm going to go shop for these brands whenever I get a chance to go to the supermarket again and do my own very personal, very unscientific comparison between these brands and what I love to get at the Mercado Emiliano Zapata. And I will share my findings. And if you want to go shop for these three brands of Oaxaca cheese, you will find all the information in the show notes. Let's watch this one final time, and then we'll look at the chit chat.
Every September, Mexico comes alive with the sounds of independence, and this year, you're invited to experience it like never before. On Thursday, September 11th at 5 p.m. at The Joint, music storyteller Paco Ojeda returns with his sold-out favorite, Viva Mexico. This is not just a history talk, it's a journey through songs, stories, and traditions that define who we are. From the cry of Viva Mexico to the powerful notes of Huapango, from Cielito Lindo to mariachi, cuisine, crafts, and even the proper way to honor our national flag. It's the ideal way for English-speaking locals and visitors to deepen their understanding of our culture, especially during Mexico's most patriotic celebration. We'll uncover the events that lit the spark of independence, the voices that carried it forward, and the music that keeps it alive today. It's entertaining, it's enlightening, and it always sells out. So if you love Mexico, its history, its music, its soul, this is one evening you don't want to miss. Viva Mexico, Thursday, September 11th, 5 o'clock at the Joint Boutique Hotel and Co-work. Tickets are 300 pesos per person, available at the hotel's reception desk. Purchase yours before they sell out.
Yay! And I'm going to be at the Joint today. If I see that tickets are starting to sell out, I will post something on Facebook this afternoon in case you are thinking of attending. Let's see what we have this morning. I see a lot of good mornings, and that always makes me smile. Okay, so. I see hellos. Oh my goodness, Michael! You guys are back already? Just landed and heading to work so we can open tomorrow again. Oh, tomorrow I know where I'm going to have dinner after music appreciation. I love it. I've been going through Thai withdrawal for the record. Let's see what else we have. And speak of one before it, here's the other one. Hello, Tim. It's great to see you. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Ginger ale is my go-to fizzy drink when it's hot and I want something different. Can I confess my shamelessly cheap summer spritzer this summer? I am buying, because we like to have summer spritzers in a budget. I am buying, whatchamacallit, California wine that comes on a plastic Tetra Pak. It's very affordable. And you can buy it at La Comer or any supermarket. So I'm buying Tetra Pak. And I am buying Squirt, sugar-free Squirt. So I make myself, call it a spritzer, call it a budget sangria, call it whatever. But red California wine from a Tetra Pak container plus Sprite diet, of course, and ice cubes. That's my budget go-to summer refresher cocktail. Needless to say, I love a good bottle of wine, but that is my go-to fizzy drink. Thank you for sharing, Christy. Ginger ale is yummy. I ought to try my wine with ginger ale. Let's see. Laura says we drink mostly flavored water. That's what I'd love to buy. I buy Clyde. That's the brand that I get at supermarket, and that's what I always have. And yeah, just like you, Michael, I cannot drink much soda anymore. I'm so happy that you're back. I hope you had a great vacation. Let's see. Angelica says, when I saw how well Coca-Cola can clean copper coins, I stopped drinking it. I hear you. Let's see. Linda says, Diet Coke is the nectar of the gods, but I had to give it up because of the caffeine. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. I used to buy so much diet drinks, but not anymore. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. This is very, very fair, and I find this very useful when it comes to restaurants behaving badly. I give restaurants 3 chances because everyone can have a bad day. What a nice mindset. I love that. I'm going to try that one. Thank you for sharing. Let's see what else. There's a queue. What do you think the percentage is for owners in Puerto Vallarta? Asks Laura. You know, I was thinking about that last night as I was checking on the news, and we have a multi-list service, and I have a friend that works it. So maybe I'm going to find out if for the general public we can find out interesting information such as the average price of a unit this year when compared to, say, 3 or 4 years ago, to see whether prices have changed and who is buying. I wonder if this information is available. So, food for thought. La la la. I love that. Written in Spanish. If you want to live with a majority of Americans, live in the U.S. Rinse and repeat. I love it. But no, respectfully, you know, there are a number of English speakers that want a certain level of comfort and safety around them. I think that is very legitimate. But where do you draw the line? And it's a different line for different people. I think it's an interesting subject to talk about. But I appreciate that remark. If you want to be amongst Americans, live in America. Let's see. I'd be concerned that if predominantly foreign-owned, some sort of gentrification would prevail and compromise the cultural base of the town. You think? Look at what's happening in San Miguel de Allende. I mean, the city gets voted a number of years in a row as the best city to live. And there are some people that are not so happy with that denomination. So, something to keep in mind. Nope. If I want to live in Mexico, I want to live with a mix of people, but mostly Mexican, says Mary Romaine. I side with that. Thank you very much for your input. Safety is a consideration, says Glenn, and I totally agree with that. And Linda says it would be great if Soriana would comp the parking with a minimum purchase like Plaza Caracol does. Well, maybe they will. You know, it's a matter of waiting to see how the system works. And maybe if they don't do that, it's just a matter of suggesting it. Peggy, it's great to see you. I wonder what's going on with the Friendship Club. We had this conversation just the other day. Whenever you're ready for another spotlight, I'd love to have you back. Let's see. Linda says, can't wait to see you tomorrow at the joint. We're really looking forward to it. I haven't seen you in forever, Linda, and you guys went on vacation to the other side of the planet, so I look forward to seeing you guys. Susan says, no to Cabo, and Puerto Vallarta is getting so busy it might become the entrance only and stay further out. I hear you. Puerto Vallarta is not what it was 20-something years when I first moved here. So it's interesting to read. What? Sad to report that Chicago's Independence Day festivities, the parade, a weekend music festival in Grant Park, etc., are canceled. That is very sad to read, Peggy. That is unfortunate. What can I tell you? Let's see. Christy says, I don't think wine and ginger ale would be good at all. Don't do it. Maybe I'll do it and I'll report and just see what happens. You know, what's the worst thing that can happen? Let's see. I've traveled a few times to Cabo. It felt like Los Angeles. It lacks Mexican charm. I love Puerto Vallarta. Renee, I've been to Cabo once, and once was enough for me. That said, would I go back to the whole peninsula with a car and explore the whole peninsula by car? Absolutely, in a heartbeat. Yes. Let's see what else. I think we're done. I think we are done with today's broadcast. So I'm going to thank you for your comments and your insights. They're so much appreciated. It helps me appreciate how much of a diverse community we are. But fundamentally, I'd like to think that if you are spending time here at Coffee and Headlines, we have a certain affinity and respect for the local culture and excitement for being here and being immersed in it. If that is the case, we are kindred spirits, and I am happy to see you here on a daily basis. Today, a spotlight interview. This afternoon, if you care to stop by and say hello, I'll be at the joint before 3 o'clock, and I look forward to that. And if I don't see you there, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning for more Coffee Headlines and more stories. Have a great day.